We're here at PDAC 2020. My name is Danielle Fernandes, and today at the Follow the Money Investor Group / Capital Street Media booth, I have Dr. Keith Barron. He's the CEO and chairman of Aurania Resources Limited, ARU. Keith, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
Great. All right. All the way from Switzerland, I might add, to Toronto. Must have been some flight, but we'll talk about that later. Can you give me a bit of an overview on what Aurania is up to and maybe touch on some recent news?
Well, Aurania has a fantastic project in Ecuador. We're down near the border with Peru and southeastern Ecuador in a place called the Cordillera de Cutucu. It's a massive property. It's 208,000 hectares. So it's almost 100 kilometers long. It's incredible.
Wow.
And this is an area that's never, ever been looked at by an exploration geologist before. The last people who did any work there were the Spanish conquistadors.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Hence the name of the project, the Lost City Project.
Best name ever, Lost Cities Project. I love it.
Yeah, so the way this all works, I first went to Ecuador in 1998. I went actually to improve my Spanish.
Okay.
And I enrolled in a Spanish school, and I ended up living in the household of this professor of history. And he said to me, he was very excited that I was going to live there because he had actually, a professor of history, why would a professor of history have anything to do with mining? But he had actually been engaged by the government to do an archival investigation of a place called Nambija.
Okay.
And Nambija had been a mine of the Spanish conquistadors from 1562 to 1603. An epidemic of smallpox killed all the indigenous labor, and that was it. The Spanish walked away from the thing. It was swallowed up by the jungle and refound in 1981 by two boys hunting wild pigs in the forest. This is documented, yeah. So all this happened.
That's wild.
On the record, it's produced since then 2.7 million ounces of gold. So not an inconsequential thing.
Yeah.
And one night the professor said to me, he says, Keith, there were 7 famous mines in what is now Ecuador. One of them has been in continuous operation since it was discovered. The other 6 were lost. And one by one, they've been found, but 2 of them are still missing. One's called Logroño de los Caballeros, and the other one's called Sevilla de Oro. And I said, do you know where they are?
Yeah, exactly.
And he says, I've got a pretty good idea. So he started to produce maps and reports and books and all this stuff and started to go through it. Sure enough, it's a true story. These places actually existed. And so we set upon in 2001 to start up a company to go looking for them. However, fate intervened, but not in a bad way.
Okay.
Fate intervened, and I actually found gold in January 2001, decided to take out the mineral rights on a very small piece of ground, eventually grew that to 96,000 hectares, and in 2006 found one of the largest gold deposits found internationally for the last 25 years. It's called Fruta del Norte.
Okay.
My company, Aurelian Resources, was sold in 2008 for 1.2 billion Canadian. It's not a bad return.
Decent number.
The shares went from 30 cents to $43.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, it is. It was a hell of a win. And so after that, I moved to Switzerland. I retired ostensibly, for 3 weeks. I got bored and I said, that's it, I'm going back. And
Even with all the skiing opportunities?
Well, yeah, you can only ski part of the year, right?
It was meant to be.
So I went back to Ecuador and I met up with the professor and we started, because I had money by that time. I could bankroll the operation properly. And we ended up looking at museums, archives, libraries all over the world. And in the manuscript library of the Vatican, I found a book from 1628. This is true. It's all on our website.
Oh my goodness.
From 1628. And it actually gave instructions how to get to Sevilla de Oro, which is one of the lost cities.
Right.
So anyway, very, very kind of explicit instructions. So what happened? There was a moratorium on getting property in Ecuador at the time. We had to wait it out, but finally it ended. And on the day it ended, myself and my chief geologist were, it was actually PDAC in 2016. Everybody was at the cocktail party at night, and at 12:01, the land came free, and we banged in 208,000 hectares of concessions, right?
Wow.
In the area where we thought the lost cities would be found, right? Since then, we spent about $13-14 million doing exploration on the property. Right now, I've got over 200 employees, and we've been going at it systematically, not as treasure hunters, but as experienced geologists.
Right.
You called me doctor, thank you, because I do have a PhD in geology and 36 years experience. And so we went out and we've started to do this, and we found 20 gold silver targets now for drilling. We've got 30 copper porphyry type targets, and we found an incredible zone of copper and silver in sediments that extends for 23 kilometers.
Wow.
We've traced it out. 23 kilometers is huge. It's like an embarrassment of riches. I've never seen anything like this in my whole career. And
I'm picturing like the caves of gold down there. Okay,
Well,
so I'm gonna have to do
yeah.
something on site. I'm going on site.
Well, it's all quite crazy. So, what the new news, and I actually talked about this yesterday. I gave a speech. We've done what's called a LiDAR survey. Now, this area is all heavy jungle, right? And LiDAR it's called light direction and ranging. It's a little bit complicated, but basically what happens is that a plane flies overhead, it fires pulses of light at the ground. Some of them are reflected back by the canopy at the top of the forest. Very small number hit the actual ground and reflected back up. And when you run all this stuff through a computer, you can actually make an image so that you can see what the ground looks like. Underneath the trees, you can strip off the trees in a virtual way.
That's crazy.
And we're doing it because we're not going to find cities. We're going to find old trenches, old pits, shafts, rock dumps, roads, all that kind of stuff. We found an old road from the Spanish time just a couple of months ago, just walking through the forest. But the preliminary results from this LiDAR survey that it's just starting to dribble in. It was finished on Saturday. It's remarkable. To me, it looks like there's some workings, but we have to get people on the ground to go and investigate these various places,
Right.
and which we will.
Okay.
But I mean, it's just a fantastic place. It's only 100 kilometers north of Fuerte del Norte, where I made the last discovery.
Right.
So it's quite conceivable that there are large gold deposits on the property. They have to be found.
Yep.
But the jungle is so thick, I could actually be standing and there could be something of interest where you're sitting right now, and I would never know.
Right.
Because the jungle is that thick. You have to cut your way through a machete. It's like something out of Apocalypse Now.
Wow.
So that's the story.
That is a captivating story you got there. So good for you.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing more about it. And
Great.
I mean, you've told people a million reasons why it should be an interesting story. So look forward to hearing more.
Yeah.
I do have one question for you, final question, because you've been doing this a long time.
Sure.
You're clearly passionate. Sounds like you're optimistic. Any advice that you would give to up and coming investors who maybe don't have your kind of knowledge and experience, somebody like myself, what should they be doing right now?
Well, you're spoiled for choice at a show like this. There's so many different companies doing so many different things. However, the broad public thinks that finding gold is kind of like winning the lottery, and it's not.
Unless you were in that run when you sold to $43.
Well, a lot of hard work went into it, and it wasn't the first drill hole that connected, right?
I know.
So the thing is, in my own portfolio, I have shares in companies that are run by people who have a track record of discovery.
Right.
like myself. In fact, I'm the biggest shareholder in my own company. I own 50% of it.
That's important.
Right, and I don't draw salary, so I'm completely aligned with what happens to the shareholders. And if they make it big, I make it big, and vice versa, and all the rest of it. But uh, the advice I would say is don't go for the horse, go for the jockey, because there are people in this business who have made successes again and again, like Robert Friedland, David Lowell, very, very well respected geologist. I think he's found 5 or maybe it's 7 mines. Norman Keevil, he's deceased now. He was the founder of Teck. He found 11 mines in his career. That is not just throwing darts and getting lucky, right?
Yeah. Strategic.
Those are very, very experienced people, knowledgeable people, and able to do it again and again and again and again. I'm trying to do it a second time. I think that perhaps I have.
Okay.
But time will tell.
That's right. It was a real pleasure. That was an amazing story, and I wish you guys all the best. And Dr. Keith Barron, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.